Hello, Fuse Nation. My name is Alex Fuse, the host of Fusion News, and we have another big show for you right now. I'm on the phone with Jack Curry, who does a pregame and postgame show for the Yes Network and is an analyst for the Yankees. So, Jack, again, let's talk about this Yankee team. They had a phenomenal season. If you're a Yankee fan, you've enjoyed this Yankees season. Do you feel like this team has a potential to win it all this year?
I do, Alex. I look at the team. They won 102 games. We know the theme of the season. It was next man up. It was the replacement Yankees. It was the fill-in guys, whatever you want to call them. But through all their injuries, and they had 30 players on the injured list, the Yankees kept responding in a positive way. And so as you gaze ahead to October and you start to say, does this team have enough to win? I think the answer is absolutely that it does. But obviously a lot of things have to go right for them. And I think it starts with the pitching. There are a lot of questions about their starting pitching. When general manager Brian Cashman did not make a move at the trade deadline, he received some criticism, but he didn't like the prices for the players that were out there, and he didn't necessarily love the players that were out there. And you now look at their starters and what they've done recently. They heading into last night, they had the best earned run average in September in the major leagues. So I look at Tanaka, Paxton, Severino as probably the first three that they're going to pitch in a series. And I think that's a three that you can match up with just about anybody in baseball. Now, Houston's big three, they're going to win any starting rotation matchup. But I still think the Yankees as a team, they think they could absolutely win it all.
You mentioned the Houston Astros starting rotation. Do you feel like this Yankee team is too right-handed heavy going up against that rotation in Houston?
I think the Yankees have always had a history of you want to try and have the most balanced lineup as possible. And playing half your games at Yankee Stadium, you want to have some left-handed boppers in the lineup. That being said, I'm going to go back to something that Aaron Boone said in spring training. He basically said he wants good hitters. If they're right-handed, if they're left-handed, if they're good hitters, he thinks they'll figure it out. And the Yankees have some right-handed hitters. Judge comes to mind quickly, who absolutely take advantage of the dimensions of their stadium. So Verlander, Cole, Greinke, they're going to be tough on righties and tough on lefties. So in order to beat those guys, and we're also getting a step ahead of ourselves because you got to win the division series first, and so does Houston. In order to beat those guys, you're going to have to challenge them on any given night, and I think the Yankees are going to have to trust that their righties, their big righties in the lineup, Torres, Sanchez, Encarnacion, Judge, LeMahieu, that these guys can do the damage.
When it comes to the playoffs in baseball, kind of almost the Royals started this back in 2014, that time where bullpenning really came into a major effect in the playoffs. How reliant do you think this Yankee team is going to be on their bullpen?
Very reliant. I think that they are going to be quick to pull starters. I think Tanaka and Paxton will have some leash as to being allowed to get in and out of trouble, but I think the Yankees know what their strength is. I think they realize how powerful their bullpen is and how many guys they have back there that can come in and just shut down a game, swing and miss stuff, get you a clean inning, get you to the next inning. So, Alex, I think they're absolutely going to go to their bullpen early and often. And I think with the off days that we see in the postseason, that's going to push them in that direction even more. I mean, the division series, you play 2 games, you have an off day. You play 2 more games, you have an off day. You could use your A relievers 4 times in a 5-game series, and because you have that built-in off day coming up between the games. You might be able to use them 5 times.
How crucial is CC Sabathia going to be to the bullpen? He made his first bullpen appearance out of the bullpen a few nights ago. Do you feel like he's going to make a big impact from the bullpen, or do you think it's going to be kind of that situation where Sonny Gray was used out of the bullpen last season?
I think CC is an interesting wild card, Alex. I think CC's role is dependent on how the games evolve. I think the Yankees see both CC and Happ as guys who can come out of the pen or start. But the fact that they have both of them pitching in relief in these last final days of the regular season tells you all you need to know about what they believe their role is and how they want to use them. CC still has really good stuff. And the other night in Tampa, he was fine with that 1 inning. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 2 strikeouts. CC Sabathia can still get major league hitters out. I just can't tell you specifically what his role will be until we see how the games evolve. If the Yankees had a situation in a game 1 or 2 where one of their starters got knocked out early, I could see a Sabathia or a Happ coming in to get you more than 1 inning. But I think until that scenario presents itself, we're not exactly certain how they're going to use those guys.
Jason Stark just wrote a story this morning in The Athletics saying that he believes that Aaron Boone should be Manager of the Year and how he dealt with the next man up mentality. Do you feel like Aaron Boone has really stepped up from his previous season? Again, he's only in his second season as a Yankee manager, but do you feel like Aaron Boone could be Manager of the Year this year?
I do, Alex, and I said this on our show the other day. We had Buck Showalter in our studio as a guest analyst, and he's a 3-time Manager of the Year. And I said I absolutely thought that Boone was a strong candidate for that award. There are other candidates. You could look at Bob Melvin. You could look at Rocco Baldelli. You could look at Kevin Cash. But I agree with what you just said about Jason Stark. The Yankees had so many injuries and were so hampered by their injuries that I think Boone deserves a ton of credit for just keeping that team positive and optimistic and believing in itself. It would have been very easy when the Yankees got hit with so many injuries to just sort of say, well, this is one of those seasons, this is one of those spells, might not be able to get to the levels that you thought you would get to. Boone never said that, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I just thought he was a better manager in year 2 because he was more experienced. He had done the job the previous year. But his optimism really does filter through that clubhouse. It's tough to win Manager of the Year when you're on the Yankees because everyone will point to the $200 million payroll, $200 million plus, and, well, they're supposed to win, but they won with Urshela and Herman and up and down the lineup, guys filling in. Maben, Clint Frazier had a role. Tyler Wade has had a role at the end here. Brett Gardner wasn't expected to do what he did, and so I think that absolutely Boone could and should be Manager of the Year.
You talked about the names that really made an impact that going into this season, if you would have, talked about guys like Urshela and Frazier making big impacts like a Tyler Wade in your career covering baseball as a whole, have you seen a team be this injured and be this good?
I haven't, Alex, and I've thought about this throughout the year. And the Yankees had their share of injuries last year. Every team has injuries, and people get tired of hearing about it because you get an injury, you just have to move on to the next thing. I used to respect Derek Jeter for that. He never wanted to talk about injuries because he said if you're able to play and you're out there, no one wants to hear how you're feeling. We're all dealing with something. But this was an avalanche of injuries. Gleyber Torres is the only player from the opening day lineup that did not spend time on the injured list. And Stanton hasn't even played 20 games. Sanchez has missed, I think, more than 50 games. Judge missed a chunk of time. These are not just guys. Severino, and we know how much he missed. He didn't come back till September. Betances, a couple of appearances he's done for the year. The players that I'm mentioning, Alex, are perennial all-stars or elite players. So it's not just that they lost the backup catcher or a middle reliever. They lost superstars, and they continued to produce. I should have mentioned Mike Tauchman and Mike Ford before when I was talking about the guys who stepped up. It's just been one after the other with the job that they've been able to do.
Jack, this is my favorite segment on the show. It's called the Fast 5 Quick Round. It's 5 quick questions, and you have however long to take to answer them. So first question, favorite moment in your career?
Wow, Alex, you're catching me off guard here. Favorite moment in my career? Man, I'm supposed to be quick with this answer. I just think I'm kind of taking a pass on this question, but
okay.
I just think getting the opportunity to cover Major League Baseball. I remember the first day I don't know if I was 25, 26, and walking into the press box at Yankee Stadium and sitting there and looking out over the field. And I kind of reminded myself to take a snapshot of that moment because much like a guy who gets called up to the major leagues, I was working for the New York Times at that point, but I didn't know at that point I was going to have a 25 or 30-year career covering baseball. So I would just say the opportunity to do what I get to do, that's the memory that kind of hits me every day.
You talk about Buck Showalter coming in for a little stint with the Yes Network for pre and post game. Who's one current or former player that you would love to join the pre and post game show with you for one night?
Oh wow! Now you're asking me to be my boss, John Filippelli. I would say Mariano Rivera. I enjoyed covering Mariano Rivera because I always thought that it wasn't an interview; it was a conversation. And you always learn something in talking to Mariano Rivera. So I've interviewed Mariano, probably more than 200. Maybe even more than 200, hundreds of times in my career. And I think to have him sitting there breaking down a game, giving his insight and his analysis, I think that would be pretty cool.
Go-to snack during a Yankee game?
Oh, that's another good question. Well, Bob Lorenz is the candy man, and we sit in his office, and he has more candy than a kid gets on Halloween. I would say that I go to his bowl of Skittles a lot, and I don't even really think that I love Skittles all that much, but they're sitting right there, so I grab the Skittles. And if I leave Bob's office and I try to go the healthy route, sometimes I have some almonds in my office, but that's really boring.
Favorite either baseball or sports movie?
I'm going to go with Field of Dreams. I always loved that movie. I love the father-son connection in that movie. I love the guy chasing a dream in that movie, and I could watch that 100 times and not get bored. And I love the fact that the Yankees and the White Sox are playing on that field next year, and I hope we as Yes get a chance to do our pregame and postgame from there.
This is going to be a tough one. Most underrated Yankee player you've covered in your career?
Man, that is a good question. Most underrated. I think it might be a guy we're seeing right now, Alex. I would say Brett Gardner, because I have so many people, and I love talking to Yankee fans. Some of them are my friends. Some of them are people that you communicate with on social media. And there's always been a faction of Yankee fans who have said Brett Gardner's a fourth outfielder. Why do they start Gardner? This guy doesn't give anything to you. And for him to be in his mid-30s right now, 36 I believe, and to be having the kind of season that he's having. And I know the baseballs are juiced, and I know home run numbers are up, but I don't know how many other 36-year outfielders, 36-year-old are having career highs in home runs at this point in their career. And if you look, it's because Gardner has made some adjustments. He's lifting the ball more. He's smart in fastball hitter counts. He knows when he should try and launch. And he's a terrific left fielder. So for a guy who was a walk-on in college and really had to work his way to the major leagues, I'm going to go with Brett Gardner.
Jack, my last question for you. Again, you've had one of the best careers as a journalist in the business. What continues to drive your passion for the game of baseball today?
Alex, I could hear the passion in your voice, and I know communicating with you off air, you will understand this. I've known what I wanted to do since I was 13 years old. I wanted to be a sports journalist. I played baseball, and I played through high school and even gave it a shot in college for one practice. But it's always been telling the story about baseball that has driven me. So I never feel as if when I go to work every day that it's work. I feel as if here's an opportunity to watch a baseball game, break it down, get to share your opinions and your insight with people. And I just think it's the motivation to try and do really well. I had a friend, Joel Sherman of the New York Post. I mean, he's still my friend. We used to compete on the beat, and he would always say he wanted to try and be great that day. Don't play for a tie. Try and be great that day. And I don't think that's being arrogant or cocky. I think it's you want to do the job the best you can on that day. And if you don't and you have a bad day, come back the next day and try and be even better.
Well, Jack, I want to say thanks for taking the time to call on my show today. And where can the Fuse Nation? You have a new book that came out just a few months ago called Full Count. You wrote it along with David Cohn, one of your other co-workers for the Yes Network. So where can the Fuse Nation find your book and read your book, as well as follow you on social media throughout one of the best times of the year, playoff baseball?
Thanks for mentioning the book, Alex. They can find it anywhere that books are sold, whether it's Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's from Grand Central Publishing. It was actually a New York Times bestseller. So if anyone wants to learn about pitching, David Cohn is a genius. So we really dig deep into the art of pitching and his personal story as a pitcher and a player. And all that it took for him to get to the major leagues and accomplish what he did. And I'm easy at Jack Curry, yes, on Twitter and Instagram. And you're right, this should be a fun time of the year. And I would be remiss if I didn't congratulate you on your new show. Best of luck with everything that you're doing and that you've accomplished.
Thank you so much, Jack. I greatly appreciate it. And again, thanks for coming on the show today.
You got it, Alex. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.